What's up everyone, it's Hitman89, hope you're having an awesome day. It's already been a year since Dragon's Dogma 2 came out, in a bad state, let's be honest, but it's had over a dozen updates, so I decided to dive into it again in order to answer the following question. Is Dragon's Dogma 2 worth playing in 2025? Let's find out! But whether it's Dragon's Dogma, KCD2 or Monster Hunter Wilds, you can get them for the best price on Instant Gaming. They have all the PC games you want, so you don't have to wait for Steam sales anymore. All the games come straight from the authorized resellers, and if you're on console, then you can get your PSN cards and Game Pass Ultimate codes for cheap. Instant Gaming is 100% legit, so use the link in the description and save some money on your favorite games. Now let's get back to the review. In this game, you start off as a prisoner and you'll be asked to choose one of the preset characters or create your own, which is the option you should obviously pick, because the character creator is awesome. It lets you do anything you want. I spent a lot of time making this tiny-headed, skinny-legged, ugly giant dude who walks like a bitch, and I spent even more time on my companion for purely professional reasons. Anyway, to review the game properly and to make sure there are no lingering issues, I had a fresh start on PC, and it only took me 10 minutes to realize the pathfinding is still broken. Look how many unnecessary laps my pawn did when she could just walk straight. Oh, and this guy's supposed to take you from the first village to the city, but every time you fight some goblins, this motherfucker has to walk all the way back to the exact spot where he left the road before he can continue on his path. Like, seriously? I mean, even animals can't find their path in this game. Hold on, let me help out this poor deer. Yeah, that's more like it. Don't forget to leave a like if you also do horrible shit in games. Now let's get serious for a second, cause we're gonna talk about Dragon's Dogma 2's optimization. At launch, the console version ran at 30 FPS. Disgusting, I know. And on PC, if you didn't have a beefy CPU, you had to deal with a remarkably shitty frame rate. I shot this review on both PC and PS5, and I'm glad to report that it actually runs better now. I played at 4K, DLSS quality, max settings with frame generation on, and I got between 90 and 140 FPS on a 4080. The PS5 version runs way better too. Most of the time, the frame rate feels like it's between 50 and 60, although it drops to the low 40s in combat, and you'll have to deal with these ugly ass PS3 looking graphics. As you can see, the pop-in is very noticeable. But hey, I played this game day one at 30 FPS and still enjoyed it. I don't know about you, but some of my favorite games are incredibly flawed, and Dragon's Dogma 2 is definitely one of them. You know how some games like God of War have seamless transitions from cutscenes to gameplay? Well, you better forget about those. Here, the screen fades to black every 2 minutes. The lip sync job looks like it belongs to a 1998 game, and you have to manually press next after every dialogue line. It's a pain in the ass. Oh, and you'd think they would have fixed the NPC draw distance by now. But nah, these motherfuckers still pop in right in front of you. Speaking of NPCs, in this game, nobody cares if you steal or even pick up guards and throw them off a cliff. These guys don't react to anything. They're lifeless.
Only care I have is how to spend the day.
But you've been walking through the socks cart back and forth all day. What you talking about? In all seriousness now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Dragon's Dogma 2 is the only game that lets you grab onto your enemies and climb them, pick up NPCs, companions, and smaller enemies, throw them around, and grab onto harpies to reach high places or cross broken bridges. If you know of any other game that lets you do all that, please tell me about it, cause I'd love to play it. And when you add to that the pitch black nights, where you can just run into a cyclops or an ogre and get your ass kicked, you get a game that's an absolute blast. Until around level 15 that is. Then the game gets too easy. So if you want a more challenging experience, maybe only have one pawn instead of 3. But regardless of the difficulty, fighting goblins, harpies and lizards throughout the game gets old after a while. Wish we had more enemy variety. Another thing that might bother some of you is the game's autosave feature, which always overrides the last save. That means you can start a new game and have a bunch of different runs, and that's a bummer. The only way to create a separate save slot is by sleeping at an inn. A year later, the devs managed to fix a shitload of bugs. But if you are unlucky enough to run into a game break-in one, then you better be sleeping at inns regularly. Otherwise, guess what? You're fucked! Despite those horrible decisions, this is a super enjoyable game, and if you want to get the most out of it, I recommend you only do this quest and then go out, explore, and do side quests for at least 20 hours before you focus on the main quest. Cause I'm pretty sure if you don't do that, you'll miss out on a lot of interesting content. Exploring this huge world, fighting a bunch of big ass monsters, and finding chests and secret locations are just some of the things that make Dragon's Dogma 2 such a fun game to play. With that being said, let's move on to the verdict. The game clearly still has some technical issues, but the addictive gameplay, the massive world to explore, the epic boss fights, and the freedom to play the way you want make Dragon's Dogma 2 a janky, but incredibly unique and fun game every open world RPG fan should play, and that's why I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. If you can grab it for like $35 or even 40, I'd say go for it. Cause if, like me, you're into this kind of stuff, then you'll easily overlook the game's flaws, especially now that it's much more polished. And that's gonna be it for this review. If you found it helpful, or at least funny, and you wanna support me, then please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. It's been Hitman89. Have a good one.
See, I ain't the one to fuck with. Now they looking nervously, and I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking